Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, a 3-day testimony at a corruption inquiry of an alleged underworld kingpin exposes deep links between criminals and high-profile officers in South Africa. Also, grieving families in a Tunisian border town lay their lost to rest. 8 youths were buried, all victims of a boat downing in the Mediterranean Sea as they tried to make their way to Italy. And slow fashion in a time of mass production. A young Kenyan designer takes a meticulous approach using exclusively traditional tools and looms to make textiles and clothing that will last a generation and more. But first, an alleged underworld kingpin wrapped up his testimony at a high-profile South African corruption inquiry on Wednesday. Vusimusi Kat Matlala returned to the witness stand before the Matlanga Commission, looking into allegations, including accusations that a suspended deputy police chief took kickbacks from criminals. Our Eunice Masson talks us through.
After a difficult start last week with Vusimusi Kat Matlala invoking his right to self-incrimination, the Matlanga Commission made incredible headway in its questioning of this alleged underworld figure. Matlala told the Commission that the general, Satya Senona, was like an older brother to him. Senona was the head of the department in the police investigating priority crimes in KwaZulu-Natal. Senona has resigned from this position in June this year. Matlala, and it might have perhaps been the greatest revelation today, described the relationship between Senona and Msibi, or even indicated that there was a relationship between these two figures. Msibi is the late taxi industry leader who has been alleged that he was the leader of the Big Five, a cartel believed to have infiltrated not only the police but also state departments in South Africa. Matlala told the Commission today that Senona and Msibi grew up in the same community. Senona also attended the funeral of Msibi's mother about 6 years ago, and it was at this funeral where Matlala learned that Senona was in fact a police general. Today's testimony and the revelations that accompanied it just shows the links between high-profile police officers and that of alleged criminal kingpins in the country, further emphasizing the importance of this Matlanga Commission's work.
Thanks for that breakdown there, Eunice, for us. Now, grieving families in the Tunisian border town of Ben Guerdan laid their lost youth to rest on Wednesday. 8 bodies buried, all victims of a boat that went down in the Mediterranean Sea over the weekend as they tried to make the dangerous sea journey to Italy. Laura Berstecker with more.
Paying their respects, Ben Guerdan residents gathered in the local cemetery to mourn the deceased, 8 young Tunisian men who drowned in the Mediterranean as they attempted to reach Europe.
These young people wanted a better future. They embarked on the road of death and tried to cross the sea because of the miserable conditions they lived in.
The tragedy took place late last week when a small boat carrying 15 people capsized near the Tunisian coastline. In Ben Guerdan, where most of the victims came from, protests erupted on Saturday as locals called on authorities to speed up rescue operations. Yet of the 15, only 1 made it out alive. 8 of the deceased were buried on Wednesday, and the grief of their relatives was tainted with anger. Many blamed the deaths on the country's deteriorating economic conditions.
We don't want any more speeches or promises. Those responsible need to come to Ben Guerdan with concrete projects and proposals to create jobs.
Tunisia has for years grappled with a deepening economic crisis that's led to widespread unemployment especially among young people.
Look now at some news in brief. Tanzania's vice president stepping down after less than a year in office. Emmanuel Nchimbi is set to vacate his office on September 4th, but not given a reason for the exit. Some political analysts say that his relationship with President Samir Suluhu Hassan had become strained, reportedly over the government's crackdown on protests following the October 29th election. 518 people were killed. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu sent security forces after a group of several hundred people abducted in Niger State on Friday. They were attacked during Friday prayers in the villages of Dekera and Binzi. Mass abductions are increasingly lucrative and a terrifying tactic used by criminal groups across Nigeria. A security consultancy this week has estimated that Nigerian kidnappers have collected around $5.8 million worth of ransom payments over the last year from civilian abductions. SBM Intelligence reckons 7,825 people were taken between July 2025 and June 2026. That's up 66% from the year before. China's ordered its nationals out of one of Taiwan's last remaining diplomatic allies in Africa. Beijing's told Chinese citizens to leave Eswatini immediately, citing security risks. Taiwan is self-governed, but China claims it as part of its territory and opposes the island's attempts at any international exchange. Taipei accused Beijing of pressuring Eswatini's nearby countries to pull overflight permits when Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te traveled to Eswatini in May. Now, Ghana's announced a ban on the exporting of unrefined gold from the country. It's the latest step from Africa's leading gold producer to reshape the industry so that the country gets more direct value from its own raw materials. Little over a year ago, foreigners were banned from buying and selling gold. Our Justice Baidu talks us through.
The policy to ban the export of any unrefined gold out of Ghana is the latest step in the country's effort to formalize the gold trading business and to ensure that much of the work that happens in the value chain of the mineral happens locally. Gold currently accounts for around 60% of the value of export from Ghana. Much of that is currently done or exported in their raw format. Since assuming office in January 2025, current President John Dramani Mahama has been on a mission to change that.
If the gold is refined in the country before it's exported, then we are reaching a point of full realization of maximization of national benefits as far as gold and other precious minerals is concerned. We want to get to the point of LBMA certification, and that's one of the growth poles they look at. You know, if you refine your gold before export.
The soaring price of gold on the world market has boosted the country's economy and also strengthened its local currency, the cedi. Despite the huge forex that it has brought in to help support the Kenyan economy, the industry regulator, the Ghana Gold Board, has recently come under heavy criticism after a new IMF report indicated that it has caused the central bank to lose around $1.7 billion in gold trading.
Morocco's footballing reputation gets another touch of the ball with the record signing of Lille midfielder Ayyoub Bouaddi by Man City on Wednesday. The 18-year-old was secured with a deal worth $117 million for a $95 million euro fee. That makes Bouaddi the most expensive player sold from the French league.
I'm really happy to have them. Yes, I think it was the right time because I was good in Lille. I felt very good, but it was the moment for me to step over, you know. And coming in City was, I think, the right things to do, and I'm really happy and proud to be here. I think Premier League is the most attractive and most competitive championship in the world, the best championship in the world. So every player's dreams to play in Premier League, and I hope I'm going to play in the Premier League really soon as possible. I think here the most important is to win. In the big club you need to win, And this is all what we're going to do, and we're going to give 100% to achieve all our goals.
Good on him. And finally, in an era of mass production and electric machines, a young Kenyan fashion designer is taking a slower approach. Take a look.
Fully focused on his task, Hilary Mukabwa carefully prepares and measures strings of yarn before threading them through the loom. He's producing handcrafted clothes, a rare sight in a global fashion industry largely dominated by mass production. Yet the young Kenyan designer says it's a deliberate choice to reconnect with an increasingly forgotten craft.
I just wanted to be that person who kind of tries to revive the old practices, because this is where culture lives, this is where authenticity lives. I never saw it as making textiles only. I saw it as preserving a culture and telling a story.
Mukabwa moved into professional production last year, initially making tote bags before expanding to clothing and fashion. He now produces suits, shirts, and other high-end garments, generally made to order. And while the process is much slower than in factories, with one article generally taking several days to craft, every single creation that comes out of his workshop is one of a kind.
I like the clothes because, one, of their quality, because they are pure organic cotton, and they are unique. Most of them, you can see they're unique pieces.
Mukabwa also hopes to transmit his passion and know-how to others. He's recently begun to take on apprentices, teaching them how to weave and spin yarn in order to keep these ancestral traditions alive.
Wow. That, though, is all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.